What's up, guys? This is Hunter from Life in the Pocket. As you can see, we have a new guy here, Philip Cole. He's a patron. He's an awesome guy. We have a great conversation about how to be a great worship leader and what are the qualities and how you need to be a great singer and a great musician. All that was a lie, but do all the things, and this is the episode, so I hope you enjoy. Welcome to another great episode of Life in the Pocket. I have a quick question for our new person and our old person.
Am I the old person?
Sound weird?
No.
Like, I feel like this one is not getting as much level as this one.
Mine's not doing that. It's probably your little thingy over there.
Fine.
Or maybe you have an actual hearing problem.
Maybe.
Don't put that juju on me. Anyways, we have the wonderful, the special DJ Mellow Phil is in our presence.
Nice.
Hey.
Philip Cole.
Phil Cole.
He's a patron. He had some free time. We're talking about some other things too today, but we're like, we need to just throw Phil on the pod.
Absolutely.
Get him on the pod.
I'm excited to be here.
It's been a long time coming here.
Yeah.
It has been a long time.
Yeah, me and Philip had coffee yesterday, and I hadn't seen Philip in like years.
I know.
Not years,
the
but
last
a long time.
Philip called me is he met a famous guy, and then I guess he just got famous.
Wow.
So that's what I assume.
That's what happens with Philip, you know? He just gets famous.
Yeah.
And then, 6 months later, you talk to him, and he's even more famous.
Yeah.
If it's okay with you, I'd like to spend the next 30 minutes name dropping.
Yes.
That's
Let's
fine.
do that.
Yeah.
Great.
I love that. And I'll do my best to keep up, but I doubt I can.
So Philip is a local worship leader. He also does 500 other things. He plays at you probably heard of him like Buku Fest or the
Buku
Burning Man
Fest.
Festival.
Buku Fest.
Isn't that what
I
it's
have never
called?
even heard of Buku Fest.
I think that's what it's called. I don't know.
It's a new one on me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, all those. If you're one of those festival people, my brother used to go there and experience the. I don't know what you experience.
You're talking about Voodoo Fest.
I don't know. I don't know what they're called. I'm
Are
just
you
saying
talking-
he's a DJ and he's like the Marshmallow Guy, and there's big crowds of people and they're going.
Okay. In all seriousness, have you ever considered wearing a mask while DJing?
As a DJ, I'm more of a vibe creator than I am a performer.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And frankly, I have musical tastes, and I really love Americana music.
Okay.
But when it comes to being a DJ, it's more about exploring different types of music that have nothing to do with my background. So for people to expect me to be Marshmallow, that's not what I do.
Come on, bro. You don't have to
Do
be
it for the people.
You don't have to be Marshmallow. You just I'm just asking, have you ever there's other DJs that do it. Who's the other one? What's the other one that wears a mask?
Oh, the Mickey Mouse guy.
Dead
Mouse.
Dead Mouse.
Yeah,
It's kind of a thing. So
it is a thing.
I do. Okay, so I do have LED shades. I think you saw that
And
at that one Bossier D that I did.
that's a move.
That's his thing.
That's a move.
I can put DJ Mellow Phil scrolling across my glasses, but I
Sick.
never get those out because I usually just get weird looks.
You should do that.
Yeah.
You should definitely do that. And think about wearing a mask because, all the greats are doing it, apparently. I don't know.
Here's how you get famous, all right? You abandon all of the dreams that you have, and you just conform to all the things that people want you to be.
Basically, just copy
And that changes day to
and
day.
paste.
Yeah.
And that changes every day.
Yeah. I think the Bible says something about becoming the world but just do what the world wants you to do.
Wow.
All right.
That's a strong.
Did I go too far?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
That's very strong.
Well, anyways, also today, I'm making baby steps to try to be like
did
Coleman
not
and
know where
Nash,
you were going.
and now Philip.
So I stopped at Starbucks on the way here intending to be there for about 5 minutes. And that just doesn't happen. Especially not now during this weird time. I even ordered ahead on the way there. And I was still there for way too long.
Has it improved any with now 75% capacity?
No.
The line outside is still
The line
still that
outside
bad?
is still insane. It was to the road.
I decided to throw a curveball, and our staff went to Red Lobster this week.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because we eat the same 5 restaurants, and like I don't even love Red Lobster, but like I
Right.
just wanted, I didn't want to eat Trejo's for the 500. In Halton, there's like 5 restaurants.
Yeah.
Okay, and we go to each one every day of the week.
Yeah.
So I tried to throw a curveball. We get in there. There's like 5 cars in the parking lot, and they're like, "Yeah, it's gonna be about 45 minutes." And we're like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah,
No.
we're at capacity." A guy that was with us is like, "Bro, there's 5 cars in the parking lot. What do you mean you're at capacity?" And then the manager comes up and he goes, "Yeah, I think we're gonna have to call in another waitress." So I think what they're doing is they're like consolidating, and then they're like, "We don't need to have 500 tables and 2 waitresses because then you're really gonna get bad business."
Wow.
So
Did you get to eat there?
no, we went to
No.
Strawn's.
Is that another one on your rotation, or was that a new
That
thing?
was a new one. We haven't
Okay.
been there in a while.
Okay.
So
Okay.
normally
That's
we
good.
always eat Flying Burger, Trejo's. There's a place called Imperial Express. It's Chinese. We go to Minden and we eat this place called Habacu's. It's
So, okay. I was under the impression that you meant that you only eat at the same 5 restaurants in Houghton. But it seems as though you go into Bossier, into town, and into Minden to eat.
I don't even know what restaurants are here.
Okay,
You got Trejo's, you got the Arby's in the gas station, you got Sonic and Waffle House.
Yeah, so you can't really sit down anywhere. You have Dude with Food. He has a food truck over there. He makes great food. But, like, what are you going to do? Sit out in the 100-degree weather and eat a burger? No.
Today would be a good day to
Today
sit
would be
outside.
a good day.
It's very nice out.
sure.
Nice, very nice.
But, anyways, we digress. I got more of a big boy coffee. It's not as big boy as Coleman's.
He asked me to get, I asked if anybody wanted coffee. Philip said he'd already had coffee. And Hunter said if I could find him something that he would like, I could get him something. Which
And that's
I
good.
don't know what that means, but I didn't know what it meant, but I just guessed. I was like, well, my wife likes this. I'm going to try to get this. And he approves.
Yeah, I've made baby steps. So, like, the only coffee I would get was like a white chocolate mocha from Starbucks. And then
classic.
basic white girl. As I got to the bottom, it was like so sweet I couldn't handle it. So then I was like, I don't like coffee anymore.
Does that cancel out if you call it a white chocolate mocha?
Yeah, I
'Cause
don't-
What? It's
technically should just
white
be-
chocolate
I don't
and
think you can
mocha. White chocolate.
should be just white
I
mocha.
think
Shouldn't
we've
it just be
talked
white
about
mocha?
this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mash talked about
Yeah,
it.
because that's white chocolate.
yeah.
Mash has touched on
Ooh,
this.
that's a new DJ name for me.
white chocolate.
White chocolate thunder. What is that from?
I don't know.
Oh, that's from Cat in the Hat, where he goes.
no.
Never mind. Okay.
The one with what's his name?
Yes.
That was a terrible movie.
I love that movie. The real one, not real.
The
but-
real people one.
Yeah.
That was not a good movie, man.
Because
I'm
this
sorry.
is thing one, and he's like all the nicknames, and he goes, he also likes to be called Chocolate Thunder.
No. See,
It's great. That's quality content right there.
No, I'm gonna take a stand on this one. Cat in the Hat with the real. Nope.
All right, you tell us who loves Cat in the Hat and who thinks it's absolutely awful. Anyways,
We should definitely do. An
I like Cat in
episode
the
on
Hat.
Top 3 comedies.
I like Cat in the Hat. I don't like the what's his name? Jim Carrey? Was that who did
no,
it?
it was the guy who plays Austin Powers.
Mike Myers.
Oh,
yeah.
Mike Myers. That could have been it. That could have been it.
Yeah,
The fact that it was Mike Myers.
but probably.
You can't
He's
put
got a
Mike.
kind of repulsive personality.
Well, didn't he do Shrek too?
Yeah, but his Scottish accent. I mean, he
Shrek
he gets
it did-
Scottish comedy. You know.
Shrek was good, but I feel like Mike Myers in any other children's movie context is just not a win. I don't know. I could be wrong.
Another
but
question is, who said when they were doing Shrek, "Oh, we need to get Austin Powers to do Shrek"? Like, who thought of that? Who thought that was a good idea?
a
It was a
genius.
great idea.
A genius.
But I'm
He
thinking
nailed that. I'm gonna
Yeah.
give it to him. There's no one else could be Shrek.
But Austin Powers is like the complete opposite of Shrek. Well, Shrek has some innuendos in it, anyways.
True.
It's fun for the adults and the kids.
Yeah, yeah.
But at the
Yes.
time, it was pretty like, whoa, like cartoons shouldn't do this.
yeah,
you
I
know?
think there was a
Yeah.
big deal because the donkey said like a cuss word or something. I can't remember.
Oh, and Eddie Murphy. I mean,
Yeah, it's
come on.
Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
He's
It's
allowed
Eddie
to do
Murphy.
whatever he wants.
Can he do any wrong? Right.
I don't think he can.
No.
But long story short, I'm making baby steps. Okay,
We're all very proud.
Yeah,
Very, very proud.
Another
of you.
part of that story is this week, me and another guy that works on staff at the church I work at, he came into my office and he never drinks coffee. He had a cup in his hand. I was like, "Are you drinking coffee?" And he was like, or I said, "You must be drinking hot chocolate," because he'd go to the Keurig and he'd have his own K cup that made hot chocolate. And so he's like, "No, this is actually coffee." And he's like, "I've been trying to figure out." I was like, "I feel your pressure. Like, if I'm in a Southern Baptist church, we have to drink coffee. Like, it's the pressure of, like, if you're a frat boy, you have to drink alcohol." Okay, that's completely wrong. But I just felt this pressure. So I was like, "I feel you on that." And he's like, "Yeah, I did. First time I did 2 packets of creamer and 1.5 packets of sugar, and it was too sweet. So this time I did 1 packet of creamer and 1 sugar." And he's like, "And I feel like I'm touching, like."
And that's one of the little tiny white church cups.
Church cups with I think we use community coffee.
Okay.
And so I went in again and last time I did it, I did 2 creamers, 2 sugars, and it was entirely too sweet.
Well, so in a little cup like that, it's a lot.
So I did 1 creamer, 1 sugar, and then it tasted bad.
Wow.
This tastes great.
I've been drinking coffee black since I was 12.
What a man.
And the reason
that's the most hardcore thing I've ever heard.
And the reason is because growing up in church, when I started wanting to help out in the sound booth, if I was going to hang out with the older men of the church, I was going to drink black coffee.
Yeah, it is.
I had those moments.
With some hair on your chest.
But I'm glad you said this, because when I hung out with the old people at my church when I was a kid, when they said it put hair on your chest, I was terrified. And I was like, I'm not getting anywhere near that crap.
Literally
close.
Yes.
That was going to happen.
Wow.
Yes. I was like, I'm too young to have hair. And now it's all over my chest. Anyways.
I think that might have been the start of something for me, because hanging out with those guys in the sound booth sort of like got me. I don't know. I have this aesthetic and this thing that I really like. Like, for me, I'm not like a coffee. I'm not a bougie coffee drinker, like I was saying earlier.
Coffee snob.
Right. I really just like the same black coffee every day.
Yeah.
You know, I'm picky about it being dark, but
Right.
other than that, like I don't put a lot into it, because I like the pawpaw aesthetic. You know.
Yeah.
I'm kind of, when it comes to that, like, for me, I like diners.
Pawpaw
I like
Phil.
What is it? That place that used to be on Kings Highway in Shreveport. George's.
Yeah, George's. Grill.
See, I loved that place. You know what I'm saying? Because it was the
Gotcha.
perfect, like, old man hangout. I'm not an old man, but I'm thinking, like,
Yeah.
I will be one day.
Yeah,
Why not
exactly.
celebrate it now?
Exactly. One day you're gonna be an old man. Are you hearing the little zzz, that deal?
Yeah, it bothers me, but
Okay.
I
Just
mean,
making sure you heard
maybe if we had a nice donation to upgrade this turd over here.
Wow.
Anyways, they give us
Wow.
enough money. I
But
shouldn't
yeah.
be complaining.
I can definitely see Pawpaw Phil over here
So
chilling at the.
It's kind
at
of,
the
it's
diner.
ironic. It's ironic
with
style.
the
You know
with
what
the
I'm saying?
the white cup, the white mug, that they give it to you in. It's,
No, that's my
it
favorite
might-
kind of mug.
Might have some coffee stains dripping down
Oh,
the
yeah.
side.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah,
no
It's
worries.
good. It's good to go.
I'm a little ashamed to say that I didn't start drinking real coffee until I was like 19 or 20. Until then, I liked coffee, but that meant that I liked like frappuccinos that had like a little tiny bit of coffee flavor in it, and then
But see, those are your baby steps.
it was, but then I mean, it is what it is. I moved to Nashville, and there was an intense peer pressure to like bougie coffee, and so I had to just learn how to like it, and now I do.
So what I'm
But,
getting here is that everybody who loves coffee was pressured into doing it,
I mean, kinda.
just like alcoholics.
Kinda. I mean,
Wow.
it's true, but I mean, at
These
the
are-
same time, like, I'm not faking liking this. Like, I really do like it now, but originally I didn't.
It's by the sheer grace of God that this isn't illegal. You know, this is just legal addictive stimulants.
It is. It is.
True.
It's true. Just
That's
like
very
sugar.
true.
Just like sugar.
Well, we didn't bring Philip on here to talk about coffee.
I kind of did, though.
Well, Coleman could talk about coffee all day, but
Okay.
I would rather not.
Hey, can I say something about the podcast too? Since this is my first time on it, but I've been listening
Please
for a
say
while.
something.
And that I really haven't been into podcasting since when COVID hit. That's really when I got into podcasting. I discovered the magic and the glory of
Oh, yeah.
being able to like do tasks around the house or drive to work or whatever and listen to a podcast. I love that.
Yes.
It's multitasking, right? And so I look forward to Tuesdays when this gets released. But I will say I've kind of made this one connection. This is going to get kind of deep, but I made this one connection as I was thinking about this podcast that like as quarantine hit and then the stay at home order, like I kind of missed hanging out with my friends, you know? And so there's a connection that musicians have like that's musical where and it's like you're on stage and you're playing together and like Life in the Pocket, this title of this thing, like that really works to that because there's like a relational deal.
Wow.
But this is kind of musician bro talk and it's life in the pocket. So it's like, it's musician bro talk that's not always about music because there's always the discussions around rehearsal and before you go on stage and maybe if you do like an after go out to eat kind of a thing. And I'm always like, you know, I've hung out with so many people that it's like, man, if other people were a part of this conversation, they would realize how fun these people are.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That's true. I'm glad you said that because the last month I've thought Life in the Pocket was a stupid name. And that really brought some life into it.
I think it nails what this is.
Yes.
That's true.
Philip gets us, man.
Philip gets us.
Philip gets us, everybody.
And I didn't even get us until Philip just, like, that's so perfect. Like, especially when you just said the conversations in between, like, worship sets and stuff like that.
Yes.
That's what this is.
Green room talk is what this is. Like,
so
literally.
Like, musician talk is not always about music.
Yeah.
I mean, like, when
sure.
you're off stage and you're hanging out together, it's like, it's one part gear talk or performance critique of other people or yourself or whatever. And then it's, you know, one part, I don't know, maybe like jokes that never seem to land, you know, maybe 20% of the time. And then it's
there's plenty of that. There's plenty of that on this podcast.
Half of it's just pontificating about things you don't actually know about.
Yep. Yep.
Wow.
He's nailing our entire persona.
I feel exposed right now.
Wow.
That's all musicians, though.
That's true.
I think that is why we get so much out of this. Like, we love doing this. And so when we don't necessarily see, well, let me just say, it's very gratifying to see somebody that's gets it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we're like, man, how do we expand this conversation? Because we're just having talks. How do we get people into it? And I think Philip has offered us some very good advice off recording. So we're just excited to have Philip here.
Yeah, Philip's not the only one. Like Derek, Derek will always respond. But we love that. Like Derek sent a response once. I think we like begged for people to say something.
Yeah, we literally.
And I think Philip and Derek are the only two people that responded. But Derek like apologized, and then he said something like, I can't remember what he said, but it wasn't even like offensive. And I was like, this is exactly like what we want to know.
It's like exactly it's what we needed.
So don't, like, if you feel like you're going to be like a Debbie Downer, just go ahead and throw your downers on us,
swallow
Debbie.
that. Yeah, like that's, forget that. We just need help. You know, we need some direction here.
Slowly but surely, I think it's becoming a community thing.
Yeah. It'll make its way. Anyways, today we're talking about an important topic. And it's I guess we can. I'm not going to say we're going to make a series because then something's going to happen and it's not going to work. But we're going to be kind of like talking about one of the things that, I don't know if Philip said this part, but I know Derek, or some people just said like, yeah, talk about like banter, talk about coffee, talk about things people normally don't care about. But we also want to provide. It was Mash. Mash came up with this idea.
Wow.
Of course, the boring one. Like, give information.
I feel like fake Mash today.
Yeah.
Like it's my responsibility to provide today's.
You're fash.
Just be you.
It's my responsibility to provide today's snark.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that. I mean, really, you don't. Like, if you
I mean,
feel led to interrupt me and Hunter just rambling on, you can. But at the same time, we kind of hate when Mash does that.
Yeah.
So just don't feel any pressure, like, to do any certain thing. All right.
Like, it makes the show, but it also makes us mad at the same time. So be you. Like,
and speaking of Mash, don't forget.
Yeah.
Go to his Instagram and just hit that unfollow and then go about continue listening. You can pause it real quick, just go unfollow him real quick and then come back.
Yeah.
Is he at a gig this weekend?
No, he went to a bachelor party.
Oh, okay.
Bachelorette party. Sorry, let me clarify.
Nice. Nice.
Okay. Anyway, so this week we're talking about like things that will kind of help you. I don't know if you're a worship leader or if you're not a work. And here's the other thing. Normally, I'll consider anybody who plays on a platform a worship leader, but in this context, I'm talking about the person who's actually leading the team.
Yeah.
I'm not saying like you just being a musician are second to everybody else, but I'm talking about how you should run a worship team. So, what makes a worship leader? Here's the question: a good worship leader.
Yeah.
All right, now that's a very open-ended question. Before we dive in, I want to show you something here on the screen. This is Mash's Instagram account. And just in case you didn't know, this is his profile picture so you can find the right one. And then you'll just go over here and I feel so bad. I'm not going to
Wow, that's
just
incredible.
hit unfollow right there,
Wow.
and that'll handle all the business.
I just got
we
to
need
say
do.
that third pick is very cute, Mash.
Yeah, that
very
is.
cute pick, very
That's
cute
great.
smile.
Profile smiling.
He's got 140 hearts on it.
The side profile is a move.
Yeah.
Is a move.
It is with the
What is the hold on,
bridge
what's
in the
the
back?
but I want to Oh, okay.
What?
He wants to live in Tennessee.
wow. He's gonna leave.
Maybe
us.
he's going to move.
No,
Who
that's
knows?
him living in a van down by the river.
Yeah. Yep. That's it.
Okay,
That's
anyways,
it.
so yeah, we're gonna go ahead
So
and get
what-
started on that topic.
What makes worship leaders great worship leaders?
I think to start off, they have to,
Be incredible singers.
yes,
They have to be great at singing. They have
Well,
to be able to do runs.
Yes.
I'm already disqualified then.
me too.
Same.
No,
Right
yeah,
out of the
so
gate, I'm not a great one.
Here's the main thing that we want to talk about is like, you don't have to be a great singer. You don't have to be a great guitar player. Like all the typical things. You don't have to be a great musician or a great singer or a great, I don't know. Even people, like there's people that I see that have no, not that this is a thing. I'm going to call it stage presence, but I guess the better term is like enthusiasm. Like people can just be sitting up there singing and it just, they're not doing anything, but you're still like impacted by their worship.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
there's
for
just like
sure.
a vibe
Yeah.
that's coming. And so like even that stuff, like it used to make me kind of frustrated when people would be like, all right, smile, we're on stage, smile, everybody smile. And I'm like, no, like I want to fake it. I'm not going to smile.
Yeah.
That's a lie. Anyways, not that I'm not happy. I just don't smile a lot.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what makes a good worship leader other than singing? And the first thing that I would like to bring up at least is one thing that people don't understand is that especially a lot of younger people, and I think a lot of people get to learn it, but I had a conversation with a person who was a young guy at our church. He left to go to seminary, but he wanted to be a worship leader. He was a great singer. He was just young. I'm not saying this is an awful thing to do, but he's like, I just don't understand why we can't play a lot of like new songs. Okay, that was his thing. He wasn't. At this point we play some pretty current songs now. We definitely do because we have modern worship. But at this point, it was a blended service. So like some new songs and some hymns, and he was like, I want to play like all new songs. And so my response is like the best thing about being a worship leader, though, for me, the best worship leader is the guy who picks songs that will enable his congregation to worship.
Sure.
Now, with that being said, that doesn't mean if you have a bunch of old people that like hymns, you should only play hymns the rest of your life.
Right.
You should want to like push them in certain ways and
Yeah.
try out new things. 'Cause you can't just do the same thing. I mean, I guess you can if you want to, but you should know your congregation.
Yeah.
And you should pick songs that your congregation would be more engaged to sing and worship in. And
Yeah.
the other thing that comes with that challenge is you should know your congregation. There's the
Yes,
train.
there's the train. You gotta have it. It's not a LITP episode if you don't have the train.
So as a worship leader,
Train of thought.
yeah,
Yep.
there it goes.
Oh, another joke that didn't land.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm telling you, it happens a lot on this show.
So as a worship leader, if you don't know your congregation, which means you stand up, lead songs, and then go to the back, and then once everybody dismisses, you're gone out the back door.
Right.
You're probably not doing the best job
Right.
you can as a worship leader. So,
Question.
What?
Okay, I have some thoughts, but I want to ask a question first. Both of y'all, how did you get into worship leading? Like, what made you want to lead worship? 2, who would you say, like, who would you say is like a great worship leader that like you like just love as a worship leader, and what are like the reasons that y'all love them as worship leaders?
Well, for me, I started leading worship when I was in the 9th grade for our student ministry. We didn't have anybody doing music in our youth group, and we didn't have a youth pastor either. And I just felt really burdened about a number of different things about the spiritual direction of our youth group. My parents were sort of like Sunday school teachers at the time, and they taught a youth class on Wednesday nights. And I sort of took on a burden just for everyone in our youth group, and I was learning to play the guitar at the time. Mm-hmm. I took lessons from the time I was in 2nd grade and sort of put it down for a while. And I don't know, I picked it up again somewhere down the line in middle school. And I was really nervous to lead for the first time. But I think I'm in ministry for the same reason that I started leading worship. And I just felt burdened for people needing leadership in spiritual direction. Yeah. And so, gosh, that was back in 1999.
Yeah. I would say mine's not as wholesome as Philip. I just wanted to play guitar.
Yeah.
But then it developed into
Yeah.
this is a lot more than playing guitar. So that's another reason why obviously if somebody is living a life of sin that's exactly opposite to a church, I probably wouldn't be like, yeah, man, let's get you on stage. But like somebody who's struggling with it, or somebody who just doesn't know or is open to anything, I don't necessarily think they need to be saved before. I don't know. I teeter back and forth. I know I'm saying it sounds messed up, but I know that I wasn't saved when I started playing on stage on a platform. Yeah. And then I got saved shortly thereafter. Mm-hmm. But even after I got saved shortly thereafter, I still was living like the 2 fake lives. Mm-hmm. So anyways, but I started to realize as a guitar player, just playing guitar, that this is more than just getting up here and playing music. This is leading people to the, literally the feet of Jesus. Yeah. And it has more of a impact on what you're doing. And at that point, I started to get more serious about going into the ministry. And I don't know, I just felt like at that moment when I was leading worship and wanted to go into the ministry, I felt like any other job that I could do at that point would be a waste of my time. I needed to work somewhere at a church. Not necessarily get paid, but I wanted to spend 100% of my time towards telling people about Jesus, advancing the gospel, working through a church, all that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah. So to answer your second question, who do we like? Who's a great worship leader by our definition that we're sort of crafting right here? Yeah. This worship leader is not always my favorite stylistically, especially because he sings so high that I've struggled to sing. I'm more of a Brian Johnson range kind of a person.
Me too.
Yeah. But I think in his ability to not only conduct the songs in the way that he does, but also in the word that he will share for 60 seconds or something in between songs. Like the person that I feel like is the most masterful at that would probably be Phil Wickham. Yeah. Just because on the one hand, like the way he shares it, it's very inviting, like join with me. Yeah. The way he presents like a thought really just like awakens you to this like reality of something weighty in scripture. And then like he kind of surfs on that for a bit, And I think Shane and Shane are the same way. They've not always been my favorite stylistically, right? But the way that they share about the character of God and the truth of worship and challenge you and invite you into that, I think is probably the most admirable for all the worship leaders I know.
Cool. Yeah, I dig that. Hunter, what do you think?
Mine would probably be my first one. And so I come at a different angle. and this is mainly because I would say exactly anytime Brian Johnson comes out with a new song that's a bop, I'm like, yes, this is made for me. But
I don't even have to change the key.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I like Corey Asbury mainly because when he's up there, man, I say things and then I'm like, Hunter, you're so like basic. And I don't want to say it because everybody knows who he is and I'd like to have some like underground worship leader. But I really like the fact that it's very evident in what he's doing that he's, he enjoys what he does. He's worshiping. Yeah, he's very it's very like laid back but energetic at the same time.
Yeah.
And then my second one would probably be Shane and Shane, just because same thing. You can tell they're not up there for a performance; they're up there to worship.
Yeah,
so.
That's what I would say is a big thing for me. Apart from singing and talent, which I can really appreciate when somebody's really talented, but the big like it factor for a worship leader for me is like humility, and I think Shane and Shane is like a great example. I feel like they're like, especially the second Shane that like gets none of the glory at all. Like he's like the most humble dude I've ever seen. Yeah, he like
sing to the heavens,
sings circles around people, but then
still
also
rocking
like
that bottom goatee, man.
Always
still rocking
till the day he dies.
Yeah.
Another person I think of when I think of just like a really humble worship leader is Matt Redman, that has written some of the biggest songs in worship.
That's true. Forgot about
and I remember I saw him live at Passion a few years ago. The dude was like, I think he was sick or something. Literally barely sang the entire set, but led the set like better than anybody I heard at the entire conference.
Wow.
Like, which is like really weird to say, but like you could tell he was struggling to sing, but like he was still just like, I'm gonna lead, and he just killed it. Like I don't even know how to like, and he wasn't like, I get super turned off by like flashy worship leaders, which when I say that, I'm like, where it seems like a performance and fake or whatever. That's like I don't know. It's just a pet peeve. So when I'm thinking of people like that, like I think of him, I think Leland is like one of my just all-timers. I think he's one of the best worship leaders on the planet.
I was a part of a worship service where he was leading worship, and he said something that was like so theologically off base that it kind of put me out a little bit. But
man.
I think it was a total like Freudian slip. Like he didn't mean to say it.
Yeah, that's disappointing whenever that happens.
Well,
and you're like,
I don't think he actually has bad theology. I think he didn't mean to say what he said. I was like, ooh, that was like, ooh, heresy.
Well, you talked about Sean Curran.
Yeah.
I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast, but Coleman went to an event and he was like, man, I really love Sean Curran, but like when we went to the breakout, like I didn't know what he was talking about.
No, nobody did. Literally we were in a songwriting breakout at this conference. It was called Lift Conference at Passion, and I was just there alone. And I was at this songwriting breakout, and literally, it's packed. In Christian Stanfill and Sean Curran and Brett Yonker and all the Passion worship leaders are there, and they all are talking. And Christian Stanfill, offers some really like good practical advice about something, and then so and so says something, and comes to Sean Curran, and he just says something. He's like the most eclectic personality I've ever seen. Like,
have you seen the videos that he's done in quarantine where he's like playing and talking?
Yes.
I feel like I have no idea what he's talking about.
No. Like he literally said something, and he was like, it's like, this isn't what he said, but it was something like this. It was like, it's like a bird flying over a valley with clipped wings. And you're just like, wait, hold on. What are we even talking about?
What are we talking about?
Anyway, that doesn't have anything to do with the conversation. It was just very odd. And I went to another breakout, and it was the exact same way. And I was like, I have no idea. When he'd start talking, people would start looking at each other like.
Yeah.
I've definitely been a part of small group worship experiences where, the person I didn't know very well was given the floor to share something that was on their heart. And they're like, I'm just getting this mental picture of the goodness of the love of God. And this was years ago. This person said, it's like a grilled cheese.
No way. No
That's
way.
perfect.
And like,
that's genius.
what can you do in that moment when they're going on and on
But
about
say
this?
amen.
Like they have the floor and you don't want to be rude, but
I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that the goodness of the love of God isn't comparable
you have a
to a
point
grilled
there.
cheese. I mean, a really good grilled cheese, there's few things better.
Well, Sean Curran was releasing these videos, and he's playing the piano, and he's like, guys, do you ever just think, just the world
Yeah. It's so
and the
broad.
planets
Yeah.
and the colors? And I'm like, what is like?
Yeah,
he's
what's
on
happening?
drugs or
and
something.
then sometimes it's like, oh wow, this is like
Yeah.
really spot on. Like this is really good. And then sometimes I'm like, I'm really having trouble like
Well,
picking
so
up
that,
what you're
that
putting
brings
down.
us to something else because like worship leaders are expected to like exhort the crowd and the congregation to worship, right? That involves that you're going to have to do a little talking, maybe a little mini sermon in between songs or at a breakdown or something like that. And sometimes you're not prepared for what to say, and it just comes out like,
it's
I
bad.
just said a bunch of nothing.
Yep. That's I have done it.
You said Leland said something theologically incorrect. I could so do that any day of the week.
Oh yeah. So especially, when you're trying to pray and you're also trying to do something else at the same time, like fix your tracks or something, or turn on a pad or tune your guitar or something. I can't do that. Okay, like some people can do it. Like Cameron Theodos, he'll be tuning his guitar and praying and stuff, and I guess it'll make sense. And I just can't do it.
No, yeah,
I can't do it.
I'm a one-track guy.
I cannot think about tuning my guitar and praying. Like I have to think about what I'm saying.
Okay, well this is okay. So on the subject of great worship leaders, this is to me, if I had to put a definition to that, I would say it's in the name. It's a great worshiper and a great leader, right?
Yeah.
And so, like me in my church, I'm like the lead worship leader, and then we have some other vocalists that are learning to be worship leaders. But I'm also over, in charge of administrating all the media stuff. So like, as I'm leading worship on a Sunday, we're a mobile church, and so as I'm leading worship on a Sunday, there's a lot of technical things on my brain that I'm like, I'm hearing as I lead worship, and like, oh, that wasn't quite what I wanted.
Right.
As I'm trying to train people and get them to own their area and stuff. And so here's the thing, as a worship leader, that it factor that you're talking about is like, it's the experience of leading people, but it's the experience of keeping your relationship God simple and growing over a long period of time, to where suddenly you have that presence. And I compare it to the story of Mary and Martha in the scripture.
Yeah.
Where like as a worship leader, as I'm leading people, I really need to be Mary and focused on the character of God and worship heavenward and inviting people into that. But a lot of times I feel like Martha because I want everything to be just so.
Yeah.
Well, he really took that and mashed it up right there.
He really did.
Like if there was a more mashed thing to do, he just nailed it.
That was straight up.
Oh, I didn't add sarcasm. Let me think.
Yes, that's good stuff. I think there's a good balance in a worship leader, and I'm kind of, I think every worship leader is somewhere on this spectrum. A balance of like just worshiping God, but you happen to be leading, and actually like reading a room and kind of feeding off of what's going on in the room and trying to lead people into a deeper experience with the Lord, and there's like this kind of give and take. And I tend to just try, especially when I first started, I was just like, okay, I'm just going to close my eyes and worship, which isn't, I don't think, inherently wrong. There's nothing wrong about it. It's just like, you still have to lead.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I guess that's what I've tried to, I don't know, what I've been trying to develop in myself and my student worship leaders is that balance.
Yeah.
Like where does that balance fall?
Well, I do that too, and I'm not. There is some of that, like the whole, not smiling, but like the whole, it made me mad when people say to smile. Like if I look mad, I have to understand that, the kind of the same thing. It's not what you say, but how you say it.
Yeah.
Now some of that also will be if you're genuine, people will see that you're genuine.
Yeah.
So like, don't worry too much about smiling and like looking creepy,
because it's gonna come off. If I'm trying to smile the whole set, it's gonna seem weird.
Yeah.
It's gonna be.
Yeah, but there are things like oh, I feel in this moment, and I don't know. This is just something I think I wouldn't do. I don't know if it's necessarily wrong or something, and it might translate to the audience. But I know anytime I've been in a situation like that, and I'm worshiping, and somebody like goes, like, for instance, I was at a Bethel event, and nothing crazy happened. They played at Houston. It was a great show, but at one point, Stephanie Gretzinger walks to the back of the stage, sits down, and faces, like, you can barely see her, and she's singing a song. So the whole time I'm like, why is she sitting back? Like, I can't even see her. Like, so I'm thinking about that the whole time. Okay. And then she comes back. So I was like, okay, now we're back into it. Well, then she, I guess, has another moment. So then she goes to the other side of the stage, turns around, sits down, faces the other way. And so I'm like, at least, like, just sit down where you're at and, like, still face the audience. Like, I'm not saying you can't sit down. I'm not saying you have to stand up and smile. But, like, I just feel like those things are things that I feel like, I don't know, that's probably a little too far. Like, I'd still want to engage people. Now, I understand the culture at Bethel is probably a lot, they more understand how to worship than the people at my church, which brings me into the next point. I feel like you should, as a worship leader, teach and lead your congregation into how to worship.
Yeah. Well, and the way you do that is it's very important, in my opinion, that you're not only going after an emotional experience. Don't get me wrong. I'm not like anti-emotions.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because I think that if we're not really in it and present, then I don't think God really wants it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, as we respond to God, when you're encouraging your congregation to do that, I think it's not like, okay, here's a blueprint. Here's what I want from you guys. I would like for you guys to comply with this.
Yeah, right.
Only if, like, you can say, here's what the scripture describes. Like, we're trying to engage the presence of God experientially.
Yeah.
But it's not about an experience so much as it is about, like, us conforming our lives to what the scripture teaches.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually watched I think it was last night. I was watching a video, and Leland it was like a night of worship, and he was talking about something similar. He was like, we're not going after an emotional experience, but in a relationship, there's emotion involved. Like, imagine being your spouse never, you're talking to her and she never shows any emotion and never, like, it would be weird. But like there's emotion involved. Like, when you're in worship, it's going to likely be emotional in some form.
Yeah.
But
I have a thing on that, actually. You can finish.
No. That's the idea.
A lot of people have an issue with, like, playing music during, not a lot of people. Some people have an issue with playing music during an invitation, all that kind of stuff.
During a prayer.
It's manipulative. Yeah. Here's my thing. I think music is 100% manipulative. Like, you can't, like, for instance, I forgot to say this. We could have talked about this maybe on another episode. My top 3 favorite movies have the same score writer, who is Hans Zimmer or whatever. Mm-hmm. And, like, you can't listen to these, like, soundtracks without feeling something, because music invokes emotion.
Sure. And would you say, like, this music is distracting me from what's happening?
I feel like God gave us music to use as a tool, not to manipulate people into a lie, but to bring people's hearts and minds focused onto making a decision.
Well, I would say, not that I disagree with you, but in terms of great worship leaders, I would say, like, there's a time, like, when you're talking about reading the room, there's an element of leadership and, like, and doing that kind of thing that I think if you focus on too much, you miss the leadership of God leading you. Yeah. And so I think worship leaders can sometimes sense when the congregation just wants the worship leader to bring it to that next level. But the problem is that really great worship leaders can, like, decide and discern in their own spirit whether or not God's really leading in that moment, or whether or not they just want to be taken in their own direction. In other words, like, a great worship leader can see when he could push that button, but chooses not to
Yeah.
because it's not right for that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's good. I don't know if we're done with this thought, but another thing that I just thought of when you were talking is all my favorite worship leaders have like a freedom, not necessarily to just go and start doing their own thing, which a lot of them can do because their bands are really good at following, but like a freedom to just worship and not feel like they, not feel, I guess, embarrassed to just in the moment be worshiping while they're leading.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
that's a big struggle for me.
There's a point for me where like I'm like I don't care if like students or whoever I'm leading like think I'm weird for like what I'm singing if it's worship, like if my heart is aligning with the Father's heart and I'm truly just worshiping, I don't care what I sound like or what I do care what I say, but you know what I'm trying to say. Like, it's just like, and I think that really great worship leaders have that freedom of like you said, Corey Asbury, like Corey Asbury doesn't care what he sounds like.
No.
Like he'll scream if he wants to scream. He'll laugh if he wants to laugh, kind of thing.
And
like he's free to,
The worship fails of like him and Brian Johnson, they're just like, he just like
he shrugs it off. Literally just laughs it off.
Yeah, some people are just like, "Oh man, I messed that up," and you can tell they're like freaking out. He's just like, "Oh," like I think Brian Johnson. There's a worship fail of him saying like something about like crap or something. he goes, "Did I just say crap?" He goes, "I think I did," and everybody just starts laughing.
Yes. Well, like, and I struggle with that too because I'm very much like wanting stuff to be like the way that I want it to be.
Yeah.
Like that's something that I just struggle with. And especially on drums, like if somebody's on drums, cause that's my main instrument, if somebody's on drums and, we get off of the tracks and we have to cut the tracks, like that's just like it eats at me, man. Like I hate it. Like and nobody wants to do that. Nobody feels good about it. But like, if I was just able to like be like, yeah, no big deal. Like, I'm just going to keep going, which is what you have to do. But you know what I'm trying to say? Like, the rest of the set, after something like that happens, my face is probably blood red. I'm, like, really trying to figure out how to bring this around and fix it or whatever. But, if something like that happened where you're a half a beat off for, like, half of a song, like, really great worship leaders, like, you might have never even realized it because they're just like, whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like I haven't even programmed a kill switch. So like if something does go wrong.
Dude, you're very trusting. Like you
No, I'm just dumb. It's not trusting. But anyways, yeah, I completely agree with that. But the last thing, I guess we're at 47 minutes. So I feel like we should wrap up with this, and this is I feel like extremely important because I suck at this because I will treat people how I feel like I should be treated, and that's not always the right answer. I know it's like the golden rule is not the right answer, but like for me, I could play with Coleman a million times. Coleman could never tell me good job, and I don't care. Like I'm there to play with Coleman. I don't need Coleman to tell me that I did a great job. Sure, it's nice. Like I'm not like mad if he does, but that's how I think. And that's not how everybody's wired.
Right.
Some people like to be, and that is how you treat your band or your volunteers, whether they're paid or they're volunteers. But I think a good worship leader should be sensitive to their band members day in and day out of who can lead, who can't lead, who you need to push. Like Philip talks big about, training up worship leaders. And that's another thing. Don't just have a bunch of people on your team that, you think that just serve a purpose and don't let them grow.
Yeah.
Kind of stuff. So I'm interested to see what y'all have to say about that. But
about what? Growing worship leaders?
Yeah, well, there's
how do you love your band as a worship leader?
I mean, there's an element of this that's just pastoring people, whether you consider yourself a pastor or not.
Right.
You're in a leadership position where people are serving underneath your mantle, I guess. And so part of that is just being humble enough to not be the center of the show. And a great worship leader isn't just a talented person in their own right and as a self-contained bundle. They bring the best out in other people.
Yeah.
And so, and some of that is just like caring for people, relationally connecting with people, being concerned with them beyond what they can provide for you.
Yeah.
And the other part of that is just loving people like Jesus loved them, And so like me, I'm learning from another guy right now. And,
just go ahead and drop his name. Just do it.
No, I won't drop his name. Okay. But
I refuse to drop his name.
He's in a very short time sort of becoming a Mr. Miyagi kind of a thing, because on the one hand, like I came to him with like, here's kind of some areas that I'm struggling as a worship leader. And I really feel like, because I haven't found myself doing this full time for a long time until now. Mm-hmm. And so this is kind of like I'm coming back into the full time swing of being a worship leader. And so as we discuss that, and as I lead worship with him, and participate in worship that he leads with the men's Bible study, I'm just like, we could do this, or do you need me to do this? And I'm like, I've got all these abilities and capabilities. I think, oh man, I could totally serve you. And he's like, we don't need that. We don't need that. We don't need that. And I feel like Daniel's son painting the fence.
Yeah.
And he's like, you don't need that. You don't need that. You don't need that. And the more he says that like I feel a frustration, because I'm like, but I've got the skill. I could make this better. We could do this faster. Yeah. And he's like, you don't need that. And so all this stuff is getting stripped away. And that is the very thing that I needed to hear. So he's teaching me, but at the same time, he's also very concerned about my inner life, my personal life.
Yeah. I think that's I forgot to tell y'all, not to digress, but when Philip was talking about how he has media as well and he can get very distracted. So I came to this church as a media director, and now I lead worship on a Sunday. Well, the thing that they don't tell you about media directors is that if you want to be a worship leader and a media director, you might as well not, because they literally do the exact opposite at the same time. So for this kind of limbo, since we started doing a modern service, I'm trying to train team members, or more team members, because now we have 2 services and we've been upgrading our live stream. So we're needing more positions and more people and all this kind of stuff. And I just find myself getting up on stage more worried about what could possibly go wrong than worshiping. Now, thank the Lord, we finally have a thing in place where there's people that are coming in to like for real train our volunteers, and they're going to be there on Sunday, and that frees me up to just worship. But it literally goes so far as to, I feel like if you don't check yourself, you can become unhealthy, because one, you're doing too many things. Kind of like you can do a few things very well, or you can do a lot of things not very well. Mm-hmm. And I remember there was a point of frustration where I was talking to my pastor, and I was like, this whole month has been awful for me, because I want to lead worship. Like if I had to choose, if I could have it my way, find a new media director and just let me lead worship. Now I understand it's not financially feasible, but I'm just telling you right now, I'm doing 2 things, and it's a lot of things at the same time, and I'm not getting any, not that we should get any gratification out of doing it, but if you feel like you're not doing it well, it's unhealthy for your brain, all that kind of stuff. So don't overstretch yourself. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something.
You need to operate at a level that you can maintain. And this is a caveat about my situation, is that my pastors have said, listen, there's going to be weeks where you can't cross the T's and dot the I's. We're not the show must go on kind of people with everything as tip-top shape. If we have to not have a welcome video this week, that's fine. That's okay. So my pastors have been very freeing to me in saying, at the end of the day, here's the thing you really are accountable for. You need to walk with God, and you need to love people. Yeah. And the rest of it might get taken care of,
It might not.
But it might also not. And that's okay, as long as you're walking with God and loving people.
That's true.
I think that's a great way of putting that. And I can remember when I first started. So when I first started working full-time in ministry, and I was like it was kind of a blended position, sort of like like media communication side, and then sort of, student worship leader, and so sort of like associate to my dad, who's the worship pastor of my church. And I can remember like coming in and being like, all right, time.
I didn't know you were busy. Would I interfere if I work in the library corner?
I mean, we'll be done in like 5 minutes if that's okay.
Okay, I'll have a coat and wait.
All right.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, here's a first on Life in the Pocket.
So,
Public space.
as I was saying, what was I saying?
That you were under your dad.
So there came a point, and I was like, I came in and I was like guns a-blazing, like gonna change everything, right? Because worship wasn't the way that I like preferred worship to be, right? And so immediately I had all this frustration because, we weren't playing all the songs that I wanted to play, and we weren't doing this, and everybody on the worship team is like older than me. I'm like the youngest person, and like I'm the only one representing like, my age group and all this stuff. And it's like, I had all this stuff that I wanted to change. And like, eventually I realized like, that's not our church isn't made up of me's, And so when I realized that, like, I remember like there was this song and I really did not want to play the song. Like it was some cheesy choir song or something. And I was like, man, I really don't want to do this. And I was mad the whole rehearsal. I was mad, in between, rehearsal and the service, because I don't like, I would have this thing where I didn't want to go in the green room with, my parents and like all these people that are my parents' age and just like try to talk with them and try to relate to them. Like I was just like, this is just dumb. Like I'm just like a kid and all these people are like, older than me and whatever. And they all like this like cheesy music. Like I was just like frustrated. And I remember the service like rolled around and that song came around and the Lord just like wrecked my whole world like during this cheesy
choir song?
Song. And like I just remember I like had this encounter with God during this song that like I just had no interest in at all. Like I didn't want to do it. Like I was so mad about all of it. And like he like just made me realize like, okay, I can do whatever I want to do with any of this stuff. So just like give up trying to like be cool little worship leader guy. Yeah. Like just do what I called you to do in worship. And like he can supersede the like, I don't know. He can supersede styles and like the makeup of your group and stuff. Like that's not important to him, I guess is what I'm saying. Like if you're faithful and like you lead and just do what he's called you to do, like he can move kind of thing.
I think that's the part of a good worship leader that has to like die early on, is this idea that as a musician, I have to be cool and I have to really stand out and I have to shine, and it's got to be excellence is a good thing, but not for those motivations. For me, when I was in a touring band, we started to get like attention in Nashville and all this sort of thing. And that was kind of the beginning of the end of my time with that band, because what happens is now like everybody had an agenda about what they thought the future was going to look like, And there started to be some fighting about that. And the tough part of that was that we weren't letting the music just be a means to an end. We were like some of us, myself included, were letting the music, trying to make the music an end in itself. But really the music is a medium for engaging people with the truth of God.
Yeah. That's good.
That's good.
Good stuff.
It's great stuff. So I think that was a good conversation. Now,
Very
there's
good.
500 more things we could probably go over.
That's true.
But I think the big ones are, as a worship leader, you should know your congregation. You should love your worship band. You should be, like what Philip said, a worshiper and a leader.
Yeah.
So hone in those skills. Hone in your relationship with God. I think my big takeaway is, if you're worried about screwing up the little sermonette in between, just talk to God so much that it just becomes like a normal conversation, and you can, think those things up just because you're having a conversation. I feel like I do put a lot of pressure on myself in that moment to where I'm so worried I would say the wrong thing that it it would screw me up. But
Yeah.
anyways, this is good stuff.
Good stuff.
So,
bros.
First worship leader talk's gone well. Next week we'll probably discuss the difference, like we talked about last week, between what is a practice, what's a worship band practice, and what's a worship band run through.
Yeah.
And talk about the differences in those and how your band should be prepared. But I think these will be good because one thing is it'll teach you how to I think a big thing is loving your band members, mainly because I suck at it because I neglect my own emotions.
Yeah.
Not like I'm hateful to myself, but I just don't feed into making myself feel good, so I don't do it to other people and all that kind of stuff. But great conversation. Glad to have DJ Mellow Phil on the pod. Hopefully we can have him back some more, talk about some other things. This is Life in the Pocket. Do all the things, and we'll see you next week. So,
peace.